Hey guys, welcome back to my very gay little book channel. This is a normal book channel, but a lot of the videos I do are gay or sapphic. I am one of those gay people who makes being gay their entire personality, but you know what? After spending so many years trapped in that awful, awful closet, I'm going to scream from the rooftops. I'm going to talk about all the gay media, all the gay books I read, and you are going to like it. And I'm sure if you've clicked on this video, then it's because you do like it. You're probably gay yourself. You're probably thinking, Georgia, you already filmed a video last week where you spoke about all the books you read in 2023 from worst to best. Like, you already have basically ranked all of the sapphic books you read in 2023. And to that I say, you are correct. I have done that. But my sapphic videos, like my actual specific sapphic videos, get so many views on this channel. Like, gay girlies from all around the world are coming to my gay book videos, and most of them aren't subscribed. So this is for you. If you're one of those people who's found this video because you're searching for like gay books, queer books, sapphic books, maybe subscribe, because I do a lot of videos like this. So I read 60 books in 2023 and only 20 of them were sapphic books, which is something that I very much intend to change coming up into 2024. I want to at least like do half sapphic books, half queer books at the very least. I did read a lot more like general queer books as well, but like this is for us sapphic girlies. Every single one of these books features a sapphic, a woman on woman relationship. So we have our tiers. The top tier is and not in like a scary way, in like a cute like I can't believe I'm reading this book, it's so cute, I love it so much, that kind of Then we have V Cute, which are the books which I really, really enjoyed. They were just adorable and I loved them. Then we have Just Fine, the books which were like, okay, cool, whatever, like, I didn't hate it, didn't love it, it was fine. Then we have Meh, we're sort of eking more into like, I didn't really like this book territory. And then we have No Thank You. And you know what, I'm not entirely sure there's any book, maybe one book in this list which might fit under the No Thank You category, but we'll see how generous I'm feeling. That one might end up with nothing in it at all. But anyway, let's get started. And the very first book that I have on this list is Every Time You Hear That Song by Jenna Voris. You know what? This one was V cute. I really, really like this book. Full disclosure, I feel like I've already said this so many times on my channel, I did get sent an arc of this book. I read it in December, but it's not actually being released to the general public until April, so I did get like a preview of it, let's say. That did not change my opinion at all. Like, if I didn't like this book, I would say that I didn't like it. Being sent like a preview art copy of a book doesn't really mean much. But I really, really, really liked it. It's YA, it's dual timeline. In the modern day, we have Darren, I think the main character's called, and she is this like super mega fan of a country singer called. My camera just died on me as I was like talking away, so I have no idea what part of my sentence the camera died. So I'm just gonna say main character in today's timeline is Darren. Darren is a super fan of this singer called Deckley Castle. And Deckley, I think it's from like the 70s or 80s, and Deckley has now died. And at her funeral, they opened this time capsule in which there's supposed to be new music. Only there's no new music, just a scavenger hunt for Deckley's super fans to follow. And Darren becomes the person who's like, I'm gonna solve this scavenger hunt, I'm going to find this music, and I'm going to win the $3 million prize for finding it. So in today's sort of timeline, you are following Darren, and then you bounce back to the 70s or 80s when you follow Deckley and her journey and her very gay relationship with her sort of like co-writer, songwriter, who is called McKinley. And it's just a really sweet relationship. I must admit, I didn't think the relationship was perfectly written. I thought it was a bit like, it kind of came out of nowhere at some points. I feel like they could have built more up, but that didn't really take away from my enjoyment of the story as a whole, because I just really, really enjoyed the plot line of this book. And the romantic relationship is really cute. It's just not like the best written thing ever, but I liked it. Mangoes and Mistletoe by Adriana Herrera. This is going to go into meh. This one, it wasn't awful, but it was a short story. I think it's been independently published, and I think you can kind of tell the writing needed an edit or 5 edits. Like, there were some like glaringly obvious mistakes in the grammar and things like that, which really, like, when you're reading a book, that really takes you out of it and makes you aware that you're reading a book. The spice in this, if you're looking for lesbian spice, this is great. If you want a really well-written story, this probably isn't great. Like, it had potential. Like, it wasn't awful, but it just I kept being like taken out of it because I was like, oh, that grammar was wrong. I didn't like that. Hot Shot by Claire Lydon is going to go into V Cute. I really like this one. It was a lesbian football romance featuring Sloane Patterson, who's moving from the USA to the WSL here in the UK, the Women's Super League, and she quite quickly falls for one of the like performance coaches whose name again completely escapes me. Maybe I could do my job. Maybe I could look up all the names on Goodreads. I'm not going to do that because I only got half an hour to film this video, so we're being snappy. The romance in this is a real slow burn, to the point it is a little bit frustrating at some point, and the sort of like obstacles to stop them being together, because you know there's got to be plot line. Some of them are a bit stupid, some of them make sense, but overall it's just a really cute story, and also it's a story about found family as well, which is something you see a lot in queer books. Sloane doesn't really get on with her very conservative Christian family back home, and she moves to the UK and finds her roots, and she finds her like extended family who still live in the area in which she is now playing football. It's really cute. She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. This is going to go into just fine. In this, you've got a basketball player and a cheerleader, and they're like sworn enemies because they're on like these opposite teams. But then they get into a car crash and they're forced to share lifts to school every day. And in that time, some sort of romance blossoms. This is going into just fine because honestly, I can't really remember what happens in this. It was quite forgettable. I remember not hating it. It was just, I can't really remember what happens in it. The Falling in Love montage by Kira Smith is definitely going to go into V Cute. I love Kira Smith. She can do no wrong. I love both the Falling in Love montage and Not My Problem, I think is the other one I've read by her. In this one, you've got two teenagers called Ruby and Saoirse. I can't remember which way around it is. I think it's Saoirse is the Irish teenager who's having a lot of problems at home. Her mum has got early onset dementia, early onset Alzheimer's, and her mum basically lives in a care home and her dad is at home sort of moving on into another relationship, and Saoirse feels like her dad's cheating on her mum even though he's not really, because her mum isn't really her mum anymore, but she is, and it's just a very complicated home life. And she's very jaded by everything that she has seen. Like, she doesn't think relationships are real. She doesn't think that anybody is ever sort of destined to be together forever. And then you have Ruby, who has come to Ireland from the UK for a summer because she is also dealing with stuff at home as well. And for whatever reason, they can't be together, or they can't be together because Ruby's only there for one summer. And so they decide to embark on a falling in love montage instead. They decide to live all the best bits of a rom-com without any of the actual commitment. And so this entire book is then basically like living out all the cliches. It is so cute. And of course, real feelings do develop along the way. After Love by Tanya Byrne is going to go into just fine, I think, or maybe V Cute. I don't want to call this book cute because this book broke my heart into a million little pieces. Like, I sobbed whilst reading this book, which maybe I should give it more credit, but also like I didn't love a lot of the plot of it, but parts of it also did like rip my heart out of my chest. So take from that what you will. This is a story of two teenage girls who live in Brighton. Most of these are YA. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love a bit of like queer YA. Two teenage girls who live in Brighton. Brighton is my favourite place in the UK. I love it so, so much. And they have embarked on this really adorable relationship. And then on New Year's Eve, the main character, Ash, suddenly dies. Only she doesn't move on to the afterlife, whatever that is. She becomes a reaper. And so it's her job now to travel around Brighton and basically help people move on to the afterlife. But she really struggles with it because she is moving around life. Rhubarb is literally running around like crazy. Rhubarb, are you okay? Anyway, as I was saying, Ash is having trouble like living in this purgatory because she is still seeing her girlfriend everywhere she goes, and she like really struggles to move on. It's really cute. Parts of it I was a bit like, don't really like that. Other parts were so cute, I was literally sobbing. I feel like Just Fine is a good compromise here. Never Ever Getting Back Together by Sophie Gonzalez. For a book named after a Taylor Swift song, I really hoped I'd love this more than I did, but this is going into meh. This is the story of teenagers. Okay, remember these are teenagers. So you have this guy who is going on a reality TV show, and he is inviting all of his exes to come on this reality TV show where the premise is to fight for him back. So they have to go on all these different dates, then he like picks off the girls one by one. He's like, no, you go home, you go home, you go home, until in the end it's just two of them, and he is like trying to choose which one of his ex-girlfriends to have back. Like, the whole premise of it is flawed from the very beginning, because which, like, 19, 20-year-old has, like, 6 exes to invite on this reality TV show? Like, they really should have been older. Like, they shouldn't have been YA, they should have been an adult book featuring people in their 30s, because it would have been a lot more believable that way. So, like, straight off the bat, you've got a big problem there. But the biggest problem with this book is there is no chemistry whatsoever between the 2 female characters. Obviously, this is sapphic. This guy invites all his ex-girlfriends onto this show, only 2 of them end up falling for each other instead of for him. But there is no chemistry there between them at all. Like, the first time they kiss is so out of nowhere, you're kind of, like, taken aback. Like, you know it's a sapphic book, but, like, you wouldn't even necessarily notice these 2 characters who are going to be together. Like, it's so out of nowhere. And then the problems just continued throughout the entire book. I didn't hate it. Like, I've definitely read worse things, but there were issues. Ophelia, after all, this has the most beautiful book cover I've ever seen in my life. This is going into V Cute. Ophelia is our main character here. This is another YA book. She has always been known as, like, boy mad Ophelia. Like, that is her entire personality. Like, she is a girl who loves romance, she loves boys, all she ever wants to do is date boys. So then what happens when Ophelia one day realises she has a crush on a girl? Rhubarb, that's so rude. I'm trying to film. I'm trying to put food on our table. How are you going to have Trinity if you don't let me film? I know, I'm so rude. If you don't let me work, you have to be on the whiskers. And you don't want that. You don't. Anyway, back to Ophelia after all. It has this wonderful cast of characters. You feel like you really get to know not just Ophelia, but her parents, all of her friends. You, like, really fall in love with this entire cast. You really feel, like, absorbed in this world. I really liked it. Some Girls Do by Jennifer Dugan. This is very much in the sort of same situation as She Drives Me Crazy. This is going to go into Just Fine, because whilst I do remember, like, enjoying this book, I can't really remember what it's about at all. Can't tell you a plot. I think one of the girls was, like, a mechanic. No, one of the girls was a beauty pageant queen, but she didn't want to be a beauty pageant queen, and the other one's a mechanic. So, something like that. The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. This is 100% going into our top tier of... Also, you're blocking my microphone. Come here. I just don't know what you want from me. I don't know why you're being so needy, Rhubarb. The Lesbiana's Guide is about Yami. She is a Latina American who's recently had to move to Catholic school to look after her younger brother, who's also had to move there for a multitude of reasons. And so she actually got outed at her last school and had a really, really bad experience with it. So she's moved to this Catholic school and she is like, I am going to be straight. Like, I'm staying in that closet. I don't care. I just want to get through school. No drama. I just want it to all be okay. Only, of course, when Yami gets to this school, she quickly realises that she has feelings for another girl, but she can't pursue them because she is desperate to stay in the closet. She is so worried about her family rejecting her. She is worried about, like, just drawing attention to herself, about drawing attention to her brother. She just wants to get through school, and this book, like, it is at its heart about Yami and her relationship with, or the relationship she wants to have with this other character, whose, again, name completely escapes me. But it's so much more than that. This is about homophobia, it's about racism, it's about never quite feeling like you fit in. It covers some really heavy topics of self-harm and suicide, and oh, it is just incredible. This is a YA book, but it doesn't necessarily read like YA, and I recommend everyone reads it. Sorry Bro by Talene Voskuni. Now, this is a tricky one to rate, because if we are rating on the sappicness of the book, so this one is definitely a no thank you. If we are rating it on... No, we are rating it on sappicness. These are sapphic books. Okay, I'm going to put it in no thank you, but I'm going to explain it. So, Sorry Bro is about an Armenian American woman who is trying to come to terms with her sexuality. She's a bisexual woman, and whilst also making peace with her own culture. Like I said, she is Armenian American, and there's a lot of expectations that come with that from her family. Now, the sapphic relationship in this book is just... it's so bad. Like, there is zero chemistry. You can really feel the author, like, trying to push these characters together, and really, like, there's not loads between them. There's all these, like, really weird roadblocks. You can just tell that, like, it's just the author desperately trying to, like, make it happen just because she wants there to be, like, a queer relationship, not necessarily because she's, like, really thought about these characters. Also, they're just like not very nice to each other, I didn't think. However, if we were rating this on the sort of culture within the book, the like as a nerd, as a big nerd who loves learning about other cultures, about the ways that other people live in this world, this was really interesting because I had never learned anything about Armenian culture, and I finished this book feeling like I knew loads, which is really interesting, but it's not really what I went into this book hoping and expecting it would be, if that makes sense. Care by Jenny Fran Davis. I just feel like I can't rate this book as very cute because it is not V cute. It is not V cute at all. But like if we're just rating it in like the tier system, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is definitely second tier. So we're going to put this in V cute, but I want it known that there is no universe in which this book can be described as cute. This book is unhinged. This book would send a straight person into a coma. Like a straight person will not be able to read and digest this book. Like it will send them, honestly. I never know how to even begin describing this book. Our main character is Sasha. She is a high femme. The first chapter opens with her writhing around naked in this bathtub, dressed as the Grinch, trying to take a nude for her boyfriend slash girlfriend. This book is really interesting because it explores the world of like high femmes and butches, and so Jesse, Sasha's partner, is often described as boyfriend in some chapters, girlfriend in another, he, him in some, she, her in others. Like it really sort of switches and changes the pronouns and sort of Jesse's gender identity. It's never like explicitly said what Jesse's gender identity is, but it does sort of reference what's the words, gender dysphoria a little bit. It's just really interesting. I've never read anything like it. Jesse and Sasha are going to their friend's house on like this little like lesbian trip away with some other couples, and what happens in this house is just something that cannot be explained. I can't ruin it by telling you what happens, but all throughout this book you're like being teased as like Jesse and one of the other characters, Darcy, are like planning something big, like this televised thing, and when it happens you want there are no words for this book. None. It is batshit. Sasha also as a character is highly unlikable. Like being in her head is such a fuckery because you are seeing the world, you are seeing these characters, her experiences through Sasha's eyes. And so because she is like this fundamentally awful person, you are convinced as the reader that everyone is awful, but are they awful or are they just awful because Sasha is telling you they're awful? Honestly, it's so interesting. She is Haunting by Trang Tan Tran. This is going to go into meh. Again, this could be no thank you or meh. Either of them, I'm going to put it meh. This is a horror. I should have known going in. I'm not a horror girly, but I read this because I was told there's a queer relationship in it. And there is, like Jade, the main character, does identify as bisexual, if I remember correctly. She is a Vietnamese American girl who has had to travel back to Vietnam to spend the summer with her father, her estranged father, so he will pay her college tuition fees. Only when she gets there, she finds that the house that he is renovating is very, very haunted and lots of very strange things start to happen. This is a really interesting look at Vietnamese culture. It's a really interesting look at colonialism and familial relationships and the strains of family and like how suffocating family can sometimes be. But also, I didn't love it. Like, I don't love horror. I should have known going into it I wasn't going to love it. A lot of it is like body horror, which just makes me feel weird. Don't love body horror, it turns out. And the sapphic relationship between Jade and whoever her lover is, who I cannot remember, is so much of like a side plot that's almost worth not being in it at all. Like, I think this book probably would have been better just fully focusing on the haunting and the colonialism and all of that kind of stuff rather than like trying to squeeze in extra little storylines that don't really have much to do with it. Iris Kelly Doesn't Date is going into our top tier just because it's Iris Kelly, it's the Bright Falls series. We all know how much I freaking love Bright Falls. Is this ranking just completely arbitrary? Like, is there any rhyme or reason to this? No, it's just what I'm feeling in the moment. So in this moment, Iris Kelly is going into even though it's not necessarily my favourite book I read all year, like for the meaning that it has to me, I love it so much. The Bright Falls series, if you haven't read it, is Delilah Green doesn't care. Astrid Parker doesn't fail and Iris Kelly doesn't date. It's about a group of friends who one by one are all finding their lovers, and they all just so happen to be queer. Iris Kelly is bisexual. She's had a string of bad luck recently, so she is now in a position where she is like, I'm going to date people, I'm going to sleep around, but I do not want a relationship. And then Iris has a really bad one night stand with Stevie, and after this one night stand, like, there is no way they are ever going to reconnect ever again. Like, it was so terrible. But then they end up being cast opposite each other in a amateur theatre production of A Midsummer Night's Dream? Much Ado About Nothing? Can't remember which one. Something Shakespeare. And from there, they're like forced to be in the same proximity and feelings happen. Only Iris is still very much like, I'm not being in a relationship. So you can see where that plot goes. This Delicious Death by Kayla Cottingham, again, is going to be a meh. I love the aspect of this book in that it was about a dystopian future in which a virus called the Hollowing has sort of taken over, and anyone who got infected by the virus now has a craving for human flesh, meaning they are cannibals. Only science is good, and science has created a synthetic flesh that these cannibals can eat, and so life goes on as normal. So a group of friends, I think half of whom were affected by the Hollowing, half of whom weren't, if I remember correctly, they end up going to a music festival. Only one of them gets spiked and ends up eating a human, not synthetic flesh, a real human, which is very, very, very illegal. And so they embark on this journey to like find out what happened, like what was it they got spiked with that caused them to turn and eat this human. And slowly more and more people are being affected by this. Interesting premise. Execution, not great. I was so interested in the virus itself. I would have loved an entire book about like how this virus first started. I freaking love a dystopian book. I find them so interesting. But the actual like storyline itself, I just didn't really care for it. The romances between the characters, so the main character is bisexual, I think, and she's got a massive crush on one of her friends who is a trans woman, and like, I wanted to love it. I wanted it to be cute. It just wasn't really. I just didn't really care. This might be a book that was kind of affected by me being 29 and this being YA, so maybe bear that in mind, but didn't love it. Fresh by Margot Wood is 100% going to go into just fine. I really enjoyed this book, but I think so many people would hate this book. I have literally never read anything like this in my entire life. Our main character in this book is called Elliot, if I remember correctly, and she is going to college for the first time. She is going out on her own, and Elliot is a very sex positive person. She likes to sleep around. She likes the connection that sex gets her with other people. She doesn't care about what like society's perceptions are of people who like sleep with a lot of people. Like, she is going to live her life. She just doesn't really give a fuck. Which I love. Like, I've never really read a book with a main character like that before, and it was so refreshing. Like, zero shaming whatsoever. Like, Elliot, you do you. Only this book is written in such a way that it breaks the fourth wall. So Elliot it's basically her diary. Like, she's writing her diary, speaking to you directly, the reader, and there's footnotes on basically every single page, and these footnotes are so freaking unhinged. Like, I don't even, like, it's like you'll be reading it and then you'll be like, oh, footnote, and you go to footnote and you're just like, what the fuck? It is insane. She also refers to what they called chicken tender, like when she like fancies somebody. That is just rhubarb screaming on the floor, by the way, ignore her. No, when she fancies somebody or she's turned on, she calls it like a chicken tender. It's unhinged. It is unhinged. It is so odd. I did not like that, but I liked what the book represented. Girls Like Girls by Hayley Kiyoko is going to go into just fine. This is written by Hayley Kiyoko, as in Lesbian Jesus, singer-songwriter Hayley Kiyoko, not author-writer Hayley Kiyoko, and you can kind of tell. I am sure, 100% sure pretty much, there was a ghostwriter writing this. So I don't think Hayley wrote it herself, but I do think the writing left a little bit to be desired. It felt a bit disjointed in places I found. But this is the story of Coley and Sasha, who are the two main characters in Hayley Kiyoko's music video, Girls Like Girls. If you are a millennial gay like me, you may remember a time when there was zero lesbian representation anywhere on the internet, anywhere in the media, anywhere in books, apart from the Girls Like Girls music video. That music video changed my life. I used to watch it literally on repeat. Like in the closet, little baby me, just watching it on repeat because it is all I had. And so when I heard that Hayley Kiyoko was writing a book, I was so excited. And just for like that music video and those characters and what those characters meant to me, I did enjoy this book. I liked seeing what led up to that kiss, that moment in the music video. I liked knowing the backstory of the characters. If you like or have ever read Miseducation of Cameron Post, the sort of like vibe of Girls Like Girls, like whereabouts it's set in the world, felt really similar to me felt really similar to me to the first half of Miseducation of Cameron Post. Felt really similar to me then? No, two's right. Two's right. Grammar's hard. Says the girl reviewing books. Fantastic. It's good, isn't it? It was just cute. It's not the best thing you've ever read, but it was cute. Moving on to Mistakes Were Made by Meryl Weisner. Again, another just fine. Meryl Weisner writes adult sapphic romance books. And when I tell you they're spicy, they're spicy. Like, Meryl Weisner writes spice. She writes sex. Like, it's very intense. Mistakes Were Made literally opens with two main characters meeting in the bar. One is an older woman, one's a college student, and they end up doing it in the car. And then they realise the next day that the older woman is the mum of the college student's best friend. Like, roommate, best friend. There's a really close connection. Personally, for me, I'm not into the whole age gap thing. I know a lot of lesbians really like an older woman, a MILF. I've just never really got that. I just don't understand it. Not my kind of thing. Not shitting on you if you do, just not my kind of thing. So I think immediately going into this, I was a bit like, I don't really get it. Like, I'd prefer to see the main character. I think her name's Cassie, with like somebody of her own age. So that kind of like took me out of the enjoyment a little bit, but that is purely personal preference, I think. It's spicy, it is sexy, it is quite cute in moments. I do enjoy the sort of like journey these characters go on, because obviously they have a lot of obstacles to overcome, the least of which being the fact that they are like 20 years apart and Cassie's best friend is Erin's daughter. Did I get that right? Probably. Another Meryl Wilsner, we have Cleat Cute. This is going to go into, it's got to, like, again, pure vibes, like, I just love this book. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I put it down. This is another lesbian football romance, and I'm very much in my lesbian football girl era. Not playing, just watching, lusting. I really like this one. I think I really like this one because the two main characters, Phoebe and Grace, really, really remind me of me and my fiance. So like reading it, I like kept reading passages aloud because I was like, oh, this is so you, and oh, this is so me. And I said in my last review video, or I spoke about this recently in a video, that Phoebe, the character in this, is like crippled with ADHD, and that is like so Holly. And I was literally reading this book, and I was like, oh my god, Grace is so me. Like, I was reading out bits to Holly, being like, isn't this like exactly what I do? I was like, it's like Meryl Wilsner has gone into my head, and she's like writing my exact thoughts and feelings. And then I got to the end of the book, and it's heavily hinted, it's basically written that Grace is autistic. And I was like, well, that's something to ponder on, isn't it? That's very interesting for me to know. So maybe we will explore that at some point, maybe not. I just really enjoyed it. Although actually I should know, if you have no idea about football, I probably would recommend Hot Shot over Cleat Cute. Cleat Cute is like very technically football-y. Like, I am still like learning about football, and like there were certain bits of this I was a bit like, don't really get it. Also, Cleat Cute is set in the NWSL, which is in America, and Hot Shot is the WSL, which is UK. So I think I understand like the UK system a lot more than the American system, but... And the final one is Read Between the Lines by Rachel Lacey, which again is going to go into meh. I don't really have loads of feelings about this. It was cute for what it was. It's an adult sapphic romance. It is what it says on the tin. I just didn't particularly care for it. You've got a bookshop owner and you've got a property developer person, and the bookshop owner receives a letter from the property developer saying they are going to tear down the building, so the bookshop needs to move, it needs to close, go elsewhere. Only the property developer and the bookshop owner end up falling in love. It's very cliche, very predictable. Good spice in it, but other than that, there's nothing special. Although saying that, I am actually reading the second one in this series. I think there's only 2 in the series, but I am reading the second one, but only really because it was free on Kindle Unlimited, so I like pain, what can I say? So there you go, that is my ranking of every sapphic book I read in 2023. That is 20 sapphic books in 2023. I'm going to try and make it 30 in 2024, but we'll see how I do. I've got so many on my list I really want to read, but just in general, we've got so many books I want to read. There are so many books in this world and so little time, it makes me so sad. Thank you so much for watching. Comment down below your top favourite sapphic book of 2023. Maybe it can be joined to my list because it's just never ending. I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.